Springfield. Deanne Marie Mazaki. Tony M. McCombie. Martin McLaughlin. Charles Meyer. Debbie Myers-Martin. Chris Miller. Anna Moeller. Bob Morgan. Tom Morrison. Martin J. Moylan. Mike Murphy. Michelle Mussman. Suzanne M. Ness. Adam Niemerg. Aaron M. Ortiz. Tim Ozinga. Delia C. Ramirez. Stephen Reich. Robert Bob Rita. Lamont J. Robinson, Jr. Sue Scherer. Dave Severin. Justin Q. Slaughter. Nicholas Nick Smith. Keith P. Summer. Joe Sosnowski. Ryan Spain. Ann M. Stava Murray. Brad Stevens. Denise Wang Stoneback. Katie Stewart. Dan Swanson. Curtis J. Tarver II. Andre Tapetti. Dan Ugaste. Dave Vella. Mark L. Walker. Lawrence Larry Walsh, Jr. Tom Weber. Emmanuel Chris Welch. David Allen Welter. Maurice A. West II. Keith R. Wheeler. Blaine Willauer. Ann M. Williams. Jawahariel Omar Williams. Kathleen Willis. Patrick Windhurst. Janet Yang War. Lance Yednock. Sam Yingling. Michael J. Zaleski.
One 116 representatives-elect having answered the roll and being in attendance, a quorum is present and the House of Representatives of the 102nd General Assembly is officially convened. The provisional clerk will enter the attendance roll in the journal. I now have the honor of presenting the Honorable Mary Kay O'Brien, Justice of the 3rd District Appellate Court, who will administer the constitutional oath of office, following which each member shall execute the written oath to be filed in my office.
Elect. Will the representatives elect please stand? And if you will, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Representative in the General Assembly according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chet. Again, will all of the members of the House please execute the written oath and submit them to the provisional clerk. Members shall execute their signatures twice on the sheet placed before them. Staff will be around to pick up the oaths, and they will be sent up to this desk, and they will be properly handled. So please, fix your signatures to both documents and make sure that someone is there to pick them up. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, under Article 4, Section 6B of the 1970 Illinois Constitution, and the House shall elect from its membership a Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives as presiding officer. The rules of the House provide for nominations, and all nominations require a second. The election of the office of Speaker requires the affirmative vote of a majority of those elected. Therefore, 60 votes in favor of a nominee shall be required to be elected Speaker. Debate is not in order following the nomination. Nominations are now in order for the office of Speaker. Representative Maurice West is recognized for a nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. If the body will indulge me before I move forward with my nomination, no matter where you stand on the scale of favorability, we must give recognition to whom recognition is due. Today marks the 50th anniversary of Speaker Michael J. Madigan being in the House of Representatives, and today he will be passing the torch of this leadership position to someone new. And so, again, no matter where you stand on the favorability, out of respect, I ask for a standing ovation for the legacy and the service of Speaker Michael J. Madigan. To my caucus, we've had a very interesting 4 days, and I'm not just talking about up here. I'm talking about downstairs. And it was very historic in so many levels. And I think we need to, as a caucus, and to our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, you can definitely join us if you so desire, but we've had historic and, I would say, bold individuals come forward to run for Speaker. So I would like to acknowledge Representative Stephanie Kifowit, Representative Kathleen Willis, Representative Ann Williams, and Representative Jay Hoffman. If we can give them a standing ovation for their boldness. Mr. Secretary, Honorable Judge Mary Kay O'Brien, honorable members of the 102nd General Assembly, I rise for this historic moment to nominate Emmanuel Chris Welch as Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives, for him to be the first African American to be to be elected as Speaker of the House in the state of Illinois. I came in here in 2019, so in 2018, I won my primary as state representative in my district, and it was my third time running, but my first time winning. You get what I'm saying? So I lost twice. For those of you who have ever lost, it's not a good feeling, right? And so I consider myself to be a professional candidate. And shortly after my election, it hit me, and it hit me hard. I have to learn how to deliver on these campaign promises. I know how to campaign. Now I have to learn how to govern. And you could just imagine the jitters that came thinking about that. You all know what I'm talking about. What made it worse? I was in the middle of watching House of Cards. And if you've seen House of Cards, it was super cutthroat. And I'm like, I'm not that kind of guy. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, right? And so it made my nerves even worse. I should have watched West Wing, but I don't know what I was thinking. So I had so many questions and no one to answer it. And then I received this random call from this random state representative named Emmanuel Chris Welch, who asked if he can come to my city to break bread with me and to get to know me. Remember, I watched House of Cards, so I knew that, they would want, I have an ask for you, or you will do everything I say, or I will destroy you, stuff like that. You've seen House of Cards. So we went to Illinois Machine Shed in Rockford and ate some fried chicken, no judgment. And I asked all my questions. And he answered all of them. And I still was waiting for that ask. I was waiting for that other shoe to drop. Like, why are you really here? He then showed his custom suits, and he told me to invest in myself, because at the time I was wearing these $39 suits, and because it was so cheap, it had plastic in it. And so on the house floor, it would like shine, and I'll be so embarrassed, and I'll look at the likes of Greg Harris and Chris Welch, and I'm like, I gotta invest in a new suit. So I hope you guys like my three-piece. But anyways. So he helped me to learn how to invest in myself. And to my shock, he left Rockford, and there was no ask. And he genuinely wanted just to get to know me and answer my questions. He then invited me to Chicago for one of his fundraisers so that I can meet other people. And that's where I got to meet my brothers, Representative Robinson, Representative Slaughter, Representative Tarver. Let me put a caveat, Representative Slaughter was late. Representative Smith, and we broke bread with him there. And he brought his wife, and his wife gave me advice on how to be a good husband to my new bride. Because as you can imagine, I was nervous because, I'll be down here for 5 months. She went down to the details. Make sure you take selfies telling her that you love her. And so I don't know if you guys saw me back here. I was taking selfies to my wife, telling her I love my beautiful bride. But his wife came and instilled and imparted in me. Even then, no ask. He wanted me to meet my new brothers and become connected. Welch quickly became my mentor. Anytime I had a question, he made himself available to me. He taught me everything opposite of House of Cards to be successful in the General Assembly. Building and cherishing relationships with colleagues, with all of you. How to be effectively present in my district, and how to stand by my convictions, even when my convictions are not popular amongst the body. It took Leader Welch 2.5 years from when I met him to finally drop the other shoe on me when he made the ask for me to nominate him as Speaker of the 102nd General Assembly, and I'm honored to do it. Chris Welch is the leader for such a time as this. Yes, we are walking in uncharted territories with COVID-19 still running rampant through our communities, a major budget crisis, remap, all while immediately following the huge footsteps and monumental legacy of Speaker Madigan. But I firmly believe that Welch did not choose this moment. This moment chose Welch, because he has the wherewithal to convene the great minds within this caucus so that we could tackle these issues together. To my family, I look among us and I see a dream team, a team of exceptional legislators. Emmanuel Chris Welch will empower each and every member to get things done for the people of Illinois. He promised us power moves to restore the trust of the people of Illinois through immediate ethics reform, term limits on the speaker position, and to have a diversified leadership team so that it looks like our caucus. Family, I'm confident that Chris Welch will be a speaker who convenes the great minds of the Democratic caucus to tackle the issues of our state and stand against those who work to disempower working families and communities, He will be a speaker who will be confident in placing power in the hands of the committees where deliberation of thought will either strengthen or block legislation. Please join me by voting for Emmanuel Chris Welch as Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives in the 102nd General Assembly. Our history, our present, and our future has its eyes on this moment. Thank you.
Representative West places in nomination Representative Emmanuel Chris Welch for Speaker of the House of Representatives. And is there a second to this nomination? The chair recognizes Representative Delia Ramirez.
Yes. Good afternoon, House of Representatives of the 102nd General Assembly. I rise on this historic day to second the nomination of Emmanuel Chris Welch to be our next Speaker. Do you remember 2 years ago where, some of us went and got our makeup done, had a nice fresh dress, had a complete 6 hours of sleep? Some of us, some did not, probably celebrated in preparation. Do you remember that we stood on that stage and we looked at our families? For some of us, that was a historic moment. For the 71 people that came with me, and thank you to everyone who gave me their tickets that didn't need them, so that I could have all of them there. My mother and father were able to see the first Guatemalan American ever elected in the Midwest. And I remember that we all looked at our families and we made a pledge of commitment to them, to our friends, and to the state of Illinois to fight for them, to stand for them, and to make sure that life for them in the next term would be better. None of us ever imagined what would happen a year later. 17,840 people have died because of COVID-19 in Illinois. 17,840. Of the 71 people that came to see me get inaugurated, 14 of them got COVID. My mother, my father, my brother, my sister, and the list goes on. We lost an uncle to COVID 5 weeks ago. Never would we have imagined what we just went through the last year. And yet, in this particular moment, I have more hope for the state of Illinois than I have ever had in my entire life. You see, this summer we were asking ourselves when we saw the protests, when we saw the actions, for the undocumented community for the last few years, we've been asking, will today be the day that we separate another family? For so many of us, our families have been living in fear and in hostage and imprisoned and killed. And many of you called some of us and said, what do I do to help? And for those of you that know me, depending on who you are, I'd ask you, be a partner, be an accomplice, be more than an ally. See, to be an accomplice, you must be willing to die with me. You must be willing to go to jail with me. You must be willing to put everything on the line for my liberation, because my liberation is intertwined with your liberation and your liberation. We worked hard to get to this moment. And as I think about those last 2 years for me, I'm never going to be the same. As I stand here before you, I'm not the woman that got elected 2 years ago. It's been hard. We've also had some great victories. We've had a lot of lessons learned. Who I have seen since that first day that I got inaugurated, consistently, persistently find ways and time to support me, the Latino caucus, the Black caucus, our downstaters, to work with people here and there has always been Emmanuel Chris Welch. You see, where you stand, when you stand with me, will tell me who you're going to be when you have more leadership. Biblically, we say, and yes, I'm, believe it or not, a church girl, that to whom much is given, much is required. Emmanuel Chris Welch has proven over and over and over that he is willing to step up, as Representative West said, for such a time as this. So on behalf of my family and those that have survived COVID, on behalf of those Latina girls who have been asking herself, how do we stand in solidarity with one another, where we lift one another, not put one down? Today I get to stand here and say that all of us can be part of a multicultural, what some would call a beloved community. And the leader for this moment, for this particular moment, is Emmanuel Chris Welch. I'll end with this. I don't have children. I hope to, maybe. Some of you do. Some of you may. Think about this. In 5 years, tomorrow, in 15 years, when we look at that history book, you will be able to proudly say that in the middle of the chaos of this country, when white supremacists attempted to take over our nation, that we stood together to elect the first African American to Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives. We did that. That is how you're an accomplice, a partner, and we work for justice for all. So it is my honor. It is my pleasure. It is the gratitude of today that I will remember for the rest of my life, to proudly, with honor, with commitment and conviction, extend that second nomination to who will be my speaker, Emmanuel Chris Welch.
Representative Maurice West places in nomination Representative Emmanuel Chris Welch for Speaker of the House of Representatives. Delia Ramirez seconds the nomination of Representative Emmanuel Chris Welch for the office of Speaker. Representative Emmanuel Chris Welch is nominated for the office of Speaker. Are there further nominations for the office of Speaker? The chair recognizes Representative Amy Ellick.
Thank you, Secretary White. Good afternoon. My name is Amy Ellick, proud new member from the 111th, a Riverbend district spanning Godfrey to Granite City in the Metro East. Ladies and gentlemen, our state is in crisis. I ran for office to represent the forgotten voices of a border district as families flee my district and Illinois to neighboring states for more favorable policies and better opportunity for the middle class and families. As a CPA and auditor, I know we must get Illinois' fiscal house in order without increasing our tax burden. And I've seen firsthand how policies coming out of Springfield can hinder economic growth. This General Assembly has a lot of work to do to address our most pressing problems, including earning back the trust of our residents. Ghost payrolling, pay-to-play, investigations, indictments, arrests, and even the cover-up of alleged crimes have all made headlines recently and have touched members of this chamber. However, our Republican leader made me very proud to join this caucus when he stood up to Mike Madigan and the corruption plaguing our state and demanded accountability. Today, I am honored to stand to nominate Jim Durkin for Speaker of the House of Representatives. Leader Durkin is a former prosecutor who first ran for office to instill fiscal responsibility in his local college board. Now he works to find common ground to create balanced budgets that don't ignore taxpayers. He has spent his career doing the right thing, seeking justice for victims, creating opportunity for all residents, and fittingly ending corruption. Members of the 102nd General Assembly, I ask you to join me in supporting an honorable man who would represent a much-needed fundamental change in this institution and in our state. Vote for Jim Durkin for Speaker of the House.
Representative Amy Kiker places the nomination the name of the gentleman from Cook, Jim Durkin, for Speaker of the House. Is there a second to this nomination? The chair recognizes Representative Jeff Kiker.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I rise today to second the nomination of Jim Durkin as the Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives of the 102nd General Assembly of the State of Illinois. Each of us is here today because our district has entrusted us with the responsibility and the privilege of serving as their voice in this House. What makes serving in this body such a tremendous honor is how each of us brings our own unique personal story to the fabric of Illinois' democratic process. Our 118 individual journeys of family, education, professional experience, civic engagement, they all intersect here in this place at this moment. For this exceptional opportunity to begin writing the first page of a new chapter in our beloved state's collective history. It is with that reverence of our common bond as members of this body and a profound respect for each of you as my peers that I rise today to suggest that we come together and seize this moment to aim higher for ourselves and for our state under the leadership of Jim Durkin. I have had the distinct honor of working alongside Representative Durkin on issues that are important in my district during session and when I am back home. Time and again, Jim Durkin has been there, not only to support the success of his members in this House, but to also support the success of his members at home. Jim Durkin understands that we cannot be an effective body unless we are encouraged and supported to be as effective as possible as individual members and as a caucus. Collaboration is often at the core of every accomplishment we see through this House that we've been able to make our mark upon. No one member on either side of this aisle can succeed without the men and women we serve alongside in this chamber. For his part, Jim Durkin never places himself above others in his personal relationship with members, and he is not bashful about taking up the ownership and mantle of responsibility that comes with leadership position and with his wealth of experience in this body. As a new representative, I recall many times where a bill being considered on our floor often caused me conflict between the needs of my district, my gut feeling, and the feedback that I would consistently hear from Leader Durkin, and I can hear it today. Folks, vote your district. His care and compassion for what issues we have at home are revealed time and again in the process this body engages. Now, I, like many of you, wake up each day knowing that I am blessed. We are all blessed. We are blessed to be in this room. We are blessed to be able to stand here and speak on behalf of our constituents. We're blessed to have our family's support from home for being here for what we do. But beyond all this, we're blessed to be Illinoisans. I know this deep in my heart. I stand before you today, a child of a single mother who waited tables to keep a roof over our head growing up. A young man who should have had a very different path than the one I found. But I had a mother whose optimism for her children's future allowed all three of us to see that light of optimism and potential, and to see all three of her children graduate from Northern Illinois University. These blessings of our experiences, of our life circumstances, cannot and should not be hidden from view, but embraced. We need to learn from each other's struggles. We need to embrace our adversity that we've faced and the challenges that truly come to define us as legislators. We need to frame each day with the knowledge that we are blessed. We live in an amazing state. We sit at the crossroads of this country. Air, water, land, highway. There is no place better than Illinois to be. We have abundant resources in people, education. We have rich cropland and plentiful water. And while we often put too much focus these days into the negativity, we owe it to our state and we owe it to our constituents to appreciate the extent and potential of our collective greatness. We need to temper that with the work that is still to be done. I've seen firsthand Jim Durkin's appreciation of this greatness in our state as we've visited frequently on Illinois' potential. As we've talked about the incredible importance of ownership of our collective future, it is unto each of us to own this future, to embrace our destiny of greatness as a state. In general, with due deference to everyone's individual circumstance, there has never been a better time to be a human being on the face of this earth. Healthcare. The healthcare workers in our state, as I've seen firsthand at Northwestern Medicine in DeKalb, the accomplishments that they have made over the past 9 months, and the continuation of their battle. The imprint that Illinois-based technology has had on our world is unrivaled. The Facebook data center being built in my district and the work at Discovery Partners Institute show that we continue to pursue greatness as a state. Our manufacturers like 3M are creating and distributing life-saving products. Our stores like Target and Walgreens are filled with safety products, nutritious food, and more manufacturers are equipping our first responders with cutting-edge products. This pandemic has reinforced the strong legacy of Illinois' manufacturing sector. We too often underappreciate the amazing times in which we live because of the genuine struggles that we face. I have great optimism in the future. I have great optimism in Illinois' future. We are an amazing people. We are a loving people. And sometimes we're a feisty people. But I like to think that our frustration or anger is born out of the fact that we know we can and should do and be better. Our faith in Illinois needs to be greater than our doubt, to be unabashedly embracing of our difficulties, and to hold ourselves to a higher standard is our duty. To own our solutions to our state's challenges is our duty. When we are tired and drained, like many of us are today, when the battle has worn you down, a leader like Jim Durkin is the one who can lift us up and continue to show us the potential for greatness that we can all achieve together and start us on a path of realizing that future. Jim Durkin consistently stands and speaks to push us to aspire as a body to become better, to work together regardless of party, personal background, or what part of the state we call home. For this reason and so many others, I humbly second the nomination of Jim Durkin to Speaker of the House of Representatives in the Illinois 102nd General Assembly. Thank you.
Representative Amy Ellick places the nomination in the name of the gentleman from Cook, Jim Durkin, for Speaker of the House. Representative Jeff Kiker seconds the nomination of Representative Jim Durkin for the office of Speaker. Representative Durkin is nominated for the office of Speaker. Are there further nominations for the office of Speaker? There being no further nominations offered from the floor, nominations for the office of Speaker are closed. The nominees for the office of Speaker for the 102nd General Assembly are Representative Emanuel Chris Welch and Representative Jim Durkin. And on that question, we will have an oral roll call. When your name is called, please announce your vote in a loud, clear voice. The question is on the election of the Speaker of the House of Representatives of the 102nd General Assembly. Mr. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Once again, members, please speak loudly so we can hear up front. Representative Ammons. Representative Avalar. Representative Batnick. Representative Bennett. Representative Boss. Representative Bourne. Representative Brady. Representative Buckner. Representative Burke. Representative Butler. Representative Carroll. Representative Cassidy. Representative Calkins. Representative Chesney. Representative Collins. Representative Conroy. Representative Costa Howard. Representative Crespo. Representative Croak. Representative D'Amico. Representative Davidsmeyer. Representative Davis. Representative Delgado. Representative DeLuca. Representative Dimmer. Representative Didich. Representative Durkin. Representative Ellick. Representative Evans. Representative Flowers. Representative Ford. Representative Freeze, Randy Freeze. Representative Gable. Representative Gon Gershwitz. Representative Gonzalez. Representative Gordon Booth. Representative Grant. Representative Greenwood. Representative Grizzardi. Representative Haas. Representative Halbrook. Representative Halpin. Representative Hammond. Representative Harper. Representative Harris. Representative Barbara Hernandez. Representative Lisa Hernandez. Representative Hirschauer. Representative Hoffman. Representative Hurley. Representative Jacobs. Representative Jones. Representative Kiker. Representative Kifowit. Representative LaPointe. Representative Lewis. Representative Lilly. Representative Luft. Representative Madigan. Representative Ma. Representative Manley. Representative Marin. Representative Mason. Representative Mayfield. Representative Mazzocchi. Representative McCombie. Representative McLaughlin. Representative Meyer. Representative Myers-Martin. Representative Miller. Representative Moeller. Representative Morgan. Representative Morrison. Representative Moylan. Representative Murphy. Representative Mussman. Representative Ness. Representative Niemerg. Representative Ortiz. Representative Ozinga. Representative Ramirez. Representative Reich. Representative Rita. Representative Robinson. Representative Scherer. Representative Severin. Representative Slaughter. Representative Smith. Representative Summer. Representative Sosnowski. Representative Spain. Representative Stava Murray. Representative Stevens. Representative Stoneback. Representative Stewart. Representative Swanson. Representative Tarver. Representative Petty. Representative Ugaste. Representative Vela. Representative Walker. Representative Walsh. Representative Weber. Representative Welch. Representative Welter. Representative West. Representative Wheeler. Representative Wilhauer. Representative Ann Williams. Representative Jawaharial Omar Williams. Representative Willis. Representative Windhorst. Representative Yang War. Representative Yednock. Representative Yingling. Representative Zaleski. For clarification, Representative Yednock, what was your response?
On the question, Mr. Welch receives 70 votes. Mr. Durkin receives 44 votes. I hereby declare Emmanuel Chris Welch has been elected Speaker of the House of Representatives of the 102nd General Assembly. Should I stand up? Having received the second highest number of votes and serving as the leader of the numerically strongest political party other than the party which the Speaker-elect belongs, I declare that Jim Durkin has been elected Minority Leader of the House of Representatives for the 102nd General Assembly. Congratulations to you. And with the consent of the House, I will appoint 4 members to constitute the Honor Committee to escort the Speaker to the rostrum to take the constitutional oath. Here's your leave. Leave being granted, I appoint the following individuals to serve as the escort committee to bring the Speaker of the House of Representatives to the rostrum. Representative Cambion Buckner, Representative Natalie Manley, Representative Elizabeth Hernandez, and Representative Daniel Didish. Will you please escort Representative Emmanuel Chris Welch to the rostrum? And once he has arrived here, we'll have Justice Mary Kay O'Brien to administer the constitutional oath.
Microphone on? All right. Mr. Welch, if you'll repeat after me. I, Emmanuel Chris Welch,
I, Emmanuel Chris Welch,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of Speaker
the duties of the office of Speaker
of the Illinois House of Representatives
of the office of the Illinois House of Representatives
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations, Speaker
Your
Welch.
Honor. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Mr. Secretary, Justice Cahill, members of the House of Representatives, friends and family who could not be here, but you are joining us virtually today. May it please this august body. I want to thank my colleagues for the trust that they've put in me here today to lead our Democratic caucus and to lead this entire Democratic House of Representatives and the entire representative body with Democrats and Republicans. Today will be the last time I talk about us as Democrats or Republicans, because I want to talk about us being united. We're going to work together to move this state forward. I am grateful and humbled by your friendship, your guidance, and your trust. While we won't always agree because of where we come from, I want to ensure that each of my colleagues knows that I want to work with you directly. I extend my hand to you, and to you, so that we can all work together. I want to be open and accessible and work together to solve the very serious issues in this state. But before we get to work, I honestly believe that we have to thank and acknowledge that our state would not be where it is today without Speaker Madigan. We have to acknowledge that fact. While our state has many problems, our schools are better, more children have access to health care, and our working class families can more easily live the American dream, thanks to the strong leadership of Speaker Madigan. I want to give him another round of applause here today because he deserves it. I have personally witnessed his steadfast leadership, and I have learned what true leadership looks like. Even in the face of very difficult adversity, I have seen that steadfast leadership. This state will never be able to adequately thank Speaker Madigan for the job he has done. I can't go any further without thanking my wife, my beautiful wife, Shantae, who's watching virtually and couldn't be here for this historic moment here today. She's been my rock. She's been my supporter, my cheerleader. And when I called and told her what was going on here and asked what her thoughts were, even though she knew what was ahead, all of the negativity that would be coming forth, the hate that would be spewed on TVs and in newspapers, my wife said to me, "You're ready. You've prepared your whole life for this moment. And if you want to do that, you do it. You step up and answer the call and help fix our state." So I want you all to give my wife a round of applause because she's going to need it. I want to thank my kids, my beautiful kids, Tyler and Marley. I want to thank my seatmate Ford, my seatmate Fran. If we weren't in COVID-19, my kids would have held that Bible. And not being able to have that opportunity for this historic day, I'm going to look back on Ford and I'm going to think of my kids when I see you in that picture. You remember that now, because that's how much I love that man. He's been a mentor to me and a friend since I got here. I want to talk about what lies ahead. Just down the road from where we're today, a man who would later become the President of the United States of America said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." We've all heard this quote, but it means so much more today. For too long, the politics in this country have been far too divisive. Today, as families are dealing with a deadly disease that's killed hundreds of thousands of our loved ones. People are so polarized by our broken politics that we struggle to advance basic solutions. Many treat their refusal to do something as simple as wear a mask for the protection of those around them as a symbol of pride. And some even deny that this deadly virus has killed 379,000 Americans. That they deny that this virus is real. We actually witnessed a storming of the U.S. Capitol that was unlike anything we've seen in our lifetime. And I know Leader Durkin sent out a statement condemning that activity. Thank you for doing that, Leader. And I applaud you for that. But our bitter politics, what you've seen on display here the last couple of days, brought us to this moment. In the last year, we've seen the tragedy of racial tensions reach a boiling point after innocent men and women have been murdered in the streets. But our politics force many people to see the issue as black and white, as opposed to human being to human being. Why do we do that? Why? Why is it difficult to ensure that families' unemployment checks continue unabated and arrive on time so struggling families can feed their children? Why is that hard to grasp? That's what people are talking about in my district, and your district, and your district, and yours too. When is it enough? When do we put our politics aside and remember that we're all human beings? And when we come here every day, we have to work together. While we might not always agree with each other, why do our politics have to be about negativity and destruction? I hope we can open a new chapter in this great state where we can work together to help families who have lost jobs, access to employment, heck, access to the unemployment office, and health care, where we can work together to ensure every person, regardless of their race, their religion, or their sexual orientation, are treated fairly and equally in this great state. I believe that we can strengthen relationships between police and the communities they serve while making Illinois a national leader on issues of racial justice and equity. We can do that. We did that today because of the leadership of my friend and my frat brother, Representative Justin Slaughter. Let's give him a round of applause. We can create new opportunities for minority-owned businesses, investing in historically underserved communities, and promoting workplace fairness. Our families in our state are facing untold hardships due to COVID-19. No family has been left unaffected, but some families have been impacted more than others. I believe the federal government continues to manage this pandemic week to week and month to month, when we all know that effects will be felt much longer, and we need a better plan. I will work with you all to demand that the federal government ensures unemployment benefits that help all families in all of our districts. People are struggling. What they're talking about in our districts, the calls that we're getting, the emails that we're getting, is about COVID-19. So that's what we need to be talking about here. So workers who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own know that they will be able to provide for their families. Bringing our community back from COVID is also an opportunity to build a stronger economy. I want to work with you all, you're hearing a theme here, to expand job training, to help displaced workers rebuild their careers, invest in green energy and green jobs, so those whose careers have been shattered by COVID-19 can bounce back and find work. 2020 was terrible, but 2021, let's commit to making it their bounce back year. We can do that. We can help people when we stay focused and when we work together. I will work with you all to rein in the cost of prescription drugs, create options for displaced workers, and to help people keep their insurance. We will need to work together to make difficult decisions, folks. Let's get ready, because we are going to have to make some difficult decisions to control spending while we protect our most vulnerable residents, Leader Durkin. And while we ensure schools receive the funding that they need. And we need to address the ethics loopholes in this state to ensure we're acting in full transparency and that all public officials are keeping their oaths to their constituents, putting their own ambitions and agendas aside to do what is best for the residents of this state. We all have to do that. There are many important issues that will face us in the coming months, and it's important that we seize this opportunity. Moments are just that, a moment. Once they pass, we can never get that moment back. And as the Illinois General Assembly, it's important that we meet the challenges of this moment. How do we do that? How do we meet those challenges? We meet the challenge of the moment by being united, not divided. We're not Democrats and Republicans when we come to work. We're going to be united, not divided. We remember our shared values, not the few differences that we have. I have so many friends over there, I can tell you the few things that we disagree on. Let's find the things that we agree on and get those out of the way. We can do that. People at home have no idea that it's the small things that they see and read about on TV. We can do better. We think and focus on the good in each other, not bad. We remember the struggles for equality that women, Latinx, and African Americans have historically faced, and we make decisions together that will help right the wrongs of that past. We focus on how we make lives better for our constituents. Remember who we're down here for, our constituents, not our own ambitions. When I came to Springfield last Friday, it was not my ambition to be standing here. I can tell you that. My ambition was to help my constituents. That was the job that I accepted, that I'm going to continue to do each and every day that I come here. And I ask you to join me in that. And we have to remember what our real motivations are that drive us when we come here. That's what's going to help us make this state great. And here's something else I want to touch on, especially after something that happened earlier today. We must respect each other each and every time we come on this floor. That is going to be the rule. We must demand decorum. We must not disrespect each other on this floor. Men, Leader Durkin, we will not disrespect women. We will not. On this floor, this august body will always show each other respect. I'm not from downstate, and I'm not from Chicago. During my time in Springfield, I've sat on the floor between my friends, LaShawn Ford from the west side and Frances Ann Hurley from the southwest side. Two different members. Y'all just have no idea. I've been sitting between the two of them for 8 years. I feel that sitting between those two, I can't really tell you exactly what goes through my mind some days, but I can tell you that it's like a small microcosm of my time in Springfield. I don't necessarily fit in perfectly in any one place. Given that, during my time here, I've instead tried very hard to spend time understanding the needs each of you bring to this body. I've worked hard to improve the lives of all of our constituents. And I've worked hard to always be a member who brings this body together, not tear down or rip this body apart. I've worked very hard to be someone that unites us in our goals and our aspirations. I don't know if that's because I was a middle child and I had to unite my older brother and my younger brother, but I guess that's my life experience, and I brought it here. Last week in this country, we saw history made in the state of Georgia, a deep red state. We saw an African-American preacher and a 33-year-old Jewish man elected to the United States Senate. You guys grasp that moment? Understand what that moment meant? That's one of those moments that we can't just let pass and not acknowledge. Senator-elect Raphael Warnock told a story last week that I believe really captures this moment well. He said, "I remember my dad used to wake me up every morning at dawn. It was morning, but it was still dark out. It's dark right now, but morning comes. And as scripture tells us, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Let us rise up, greet the morning, and meet the challenges of this moment. Together, we can do the necessary work and win the future for all of our children. Not just my two, not just little Charlie over there, everybody's children. Everybody. I am awestruck and humbled to be standing before you today as my sister and nominator, Representative Ramirez, stated, to be the first Black Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives. I must thank 22 strong people for insisting that that happen. Please acknowledge, respect, and thank the members of the Illinois House Black Caucus. Let's give them a round of applause. Representative West, my brother, my friend, it is with true humility and a servant's heart that I do step up here and try to seize this moment with you and every one of you here. Let us move forward into the next General Assembly together, Leader Durkin, as a united General Assembly, remembering our shared values. Remember, we do share a lot. Focusing on the good in each other, not trying to tear each other down, and remembering our motivation for making changes that will have a positive impact on those we serve. I am so honored to be standing here as your Speaker of the House. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I got to stay here now. At this time, the chair will recognize Minority Leader Durkin. Mr. Durkin, would you like to address the body here today?
I would, Mr. Speaker, and you look quite comfortable and good up there.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
You may proceed, Leader Durkin.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank Representative Ellick and Kiker, my two colleagues, for their wonderful nomination speeches, and thank you for those kind words. And congratulations, Speaker Welch. When you stated that you will work with me, I take you at your word, and I will work with you. This is an interesting time because as the minority leader from Cook County lives less than 5 miles, as a matter of fact, 4.5 miles away from the Speaker. And if you're driving the limit, as long as the Secretary of State is here, I am driving the limit. It's only 10 minutes. So I got a feeling that we may see each other more often than we think or like, but the fact is, I've known you for years. We both are very passionate about our positions, and that will continue. But I am extending the olive branch of cooperation starting today. I love my state, and we talked about that earlier. You know, that's why we're here. I have benefited from this state. I've got a great family that's benefited. My wife Celeste is watching. I'm now a grandfather 3 times. My daughters are gainfully employed. They're living the American dream. So I'm a very fortunate man. I say this all the time, but I just want to remember before I forget this. You know, I come from a large Irish family, and, you know, we have a lot of times we're told about, you know, the old days and that, but my father always told myself and my 7 brothers, even in the worst of times, he would often tell us very directly, leave a place better than you found it. Keep that in mind. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been quite a week, quite a month, and quite a year. And there's been a lot of build-up to today's swearing in of members to this 102nd, which will be an historic General Assembly. And congratulations to all of you, particularly the new members. I know that you've worked hard to get here, and I know that your families should be, and I'm sure they are, very proud of you. I wish they could be here personally, but I understand the situation that we exist in. But the times that we live in are unique, to say the least, and challenging. You took the oath. You can't turn back now. We're here. Each and every one of us is now tasked with representing each and every one of your citizens on every imaginable issue. The budget, our state employees, our employers, healthcare workers, law enforcement, public safety, agriculture, education, students. The list goes on, but I'll stop there. You're in for a real treat. You're going to have to shift gears in a second's notice on every issue. But you know what? That's how you build up. That's how you help yourself. That makes you a better person, a more educated person, a more grounded person to address the issues. As we said earlier, it's about your district. Never forget your district. Your district comes first. That is our solemn obligation, are the men and women who expect much from us. Now, as we reflect upon our responsibilities today, you will be well served to reflect on the past, learn from the present, and consider the future. It's often been said that those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. Remember that. Now, for the first time in many decades, 50 years since he was first elected, the name of Michael J. Madigan has not been offered as Speaker of the House. Mr. Madigan's record will long be reviewed and analyzed. His legacy leaves broken promises to Illinois taxpayers. Listen, a legacy driven by absolute power and control, so much that his business model forced the largest public utility in the state to enter into a deferred prosecution agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago. That's an admission of fact. A 9-year scheme to bribe. This is my time to talk. What's it about? No-show jobs, board appointments, contracts run through a third party to benefit his allies, all to influence and reward his effort to assist ComEd with legislation. The legacy is also one which failed its citizens with unbalanced budgets, broken pension systems, tax increase after tax increase, with nothing to show for it. The saying goes that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. As I said, reflect on the past. While his reign as Speaker is all but over, his decades in power will never be erased. What we have here, through this unique and rare opportunity, is the ability to break from the past, to break that business model and fix the problems because they are as apparent as the mask on our face. Consider the future. If you wish to move from the past, you will have a partner in Jim Durkin and the House Republicans. I'm going to talk about that for a few moments. Our priorities are strong. They're deeply rooted, and they're not that much different from yours. I just want to remind you in all of Illinois about what we stand for, and I offer the following. And I want to thank Representative Murphy for working on that with select group of our members, just to reaffirm our priorities. We must work towards ending the culture of corruption that has allowed our state to be run into the ground for the benefit of a politically connected few. We must enact responsible fiscal leadership. The days of overspending, overpromising, and underdelivering have to be left behind. Last November, Illinois voters sent a very loud message, one that is very clear. No more taxes, no more fake budgets, live within your means, solve your problems, solve those self-inflicted problems. We must do better. We must grow jobs and opportunities for our families all across Illinois. We cannot keep forcing property tax hikes and regulations on job creators, and we need to work to keep our students working in Illinois. It's a novel concept. I don't want my kids to leave Illinois. I don't want your kids to leave Illinois to find a good, meaningful job. It's happening. We've got to stop that horrible trend. We must ensure the safety of our public. This past year has taught us the importance of being a nation of laws and that we are tasked with ensuring the safety of all citizens. That means making sure that we have the best law enforcement officers in the country, like the men and women who are here today, who have been here every week guarding us, who take those jobs seriously because they have a mission to serve and protect. And each one of them would spare their lives for us. That's why they're here. And we cannot demean them. We can work towards a better Illinois, one that is fair, one that hopefully reaches that goal, that pillar of fairness and equity. We're going to disagree on how we get there, and that's our right as legislators, because words do mean something. We may disagree, you may not like our votes, but I hope you know we have an obligation to make sure that we put a product together that moves out of this chamber that is one that is thoughtful, one that is operable. And sometimes we just can't get there, and we ask those questions, we'll disagree, but that is what this great experience is about. I mentioned those priorities. You've heard them before, but as I said earlier, they're deeply rooted within our caucus, and if you think about it, I would imagine they're yours as well. But I believe that we have to work quickly. We must work quickly. We have to work together, because these problems, which are identifiable, could become unfixable. Now, there will be suggestions that our speaker is, and it has been suggested, some people will say that nothing's going to change. I'm hopeful that it won't, that it will change, that we will see a new image and a new future for the General Assembly. So, Speaker Welch, I would avoid taking hand signals and homing pigeons from the 13th Ward. My final thoughts come from me as an elected official, a husband, a father, a grandfather, and a taxpayer. And I will be frank, this house is broken, it's divided, but our state, even worse, that our state is broken. We are not solving problems, we are adding to them. Illinois doesn't feel strong anymore because our people don't feel strong. And as always, it's the little guy in Illinois who loses. That little guy works hard. He pays a lot. He tries to do right by his family, but he's going nowhere fast. He never gets a break. He works harder than ever before to get ahead, but continues to fall behind. He feels robbed. He wants a fair chance, and he's not asking for favors. So, my message to you, that we must take that unyielding weight of government off his shoulders by getting our act together and not taxing him to death to solve our self-inflicted problems. We can also let our businesses thrive, let them move forward, put people to work without us constantly micromanaging their operation and their mission. We also got to grow our economy, put people back to work, and yes, we have to pay down our debt and not make up any excuses. We're going to do that by taking on the tough issues. Thank you, Speaker Welch. You said that we're going to take on the tough issues. You have a partner with me. We're going to take on those issues head on, but not by turning our backs to those issues and running away as fast as we can, which has happened over the decades. We must do everything in this great, untapped power of the men and women in this House to give working people, our job creators, strength again. And for the people not working, the ability to get their lives back. I will repeat, we must stop creating problems. We must solve our problems. I'm honored to serve in this position. As I said earlier, I love the institution. I love the state of Illinois. It's done a lot for me. But you know what? If you notice up here, I'm getting a little old and getting very gray. I'm glad I still have it. But there is going to be generations after us who will be dealing with issues which could be much worse. So this is a time in history, a time where we have a fresh start to hit the reset button in state government and think about what our mission is. What is our mission to the men and women who work hard and the children every day in our districts? Think about that. I think it's all the same for us. As I said earlier, they want a fair shake. They want to make sure when they make that investment every April to the Department of Revenue that they will get a return on that investment. That should be our goal. With that, I want to thank my colleagues from the Republican Party for instilling with me their confidence. And for my Democrat friends, it's a new day. It is a new day, and let's prove it together, because the state and everyone who believes in state government, they are watching us. And I know we can get there. God bless Illinois. God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Leader Durkin. As a gentleman from Proviso Township, what you will receive from me is a note that says, people may doubt what you say, but they believe what you do. And that note will say, I also look forward to returning civility and compassion to our politics. The next order of business is the election of the Chief Clerk, Assistant Clerk, and Doorkeeper for the 102nd General Assembly. The gentleman from Cook, Representative Harris, is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the suspension of the applicable House rules to allow for the immediate consideration of House Resolutions 1, 2, and 3.
You heard the gentleman's motion. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The gentleman from Cook, Representative Harris.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Resolution 1, a resolution for the election of John W. Holman as Chief Clerk, Bradley S. Bolin as Assistant Clerk, and Lee A. Crawford as Doorkeeper.
Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
House Resolution 1, be it resolved by the House Representatives of the 102nd General Assembly of the State of Illinois that the following officers are hereby elected to the term of the 102nd General Assembly: John W. Holman as Chief Clerk of the House, Bradley S. Bolin as Assistant Clerk of the House, Lee A. Crawford as Doorkeeper of the House.
The gentleman has moved the adoption of House Resolution 1. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed saying nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Pursuant to House Resolution 1, the chair declares John W. Holman elected as Chief Clerk of the House, Bradley S. Bolin elected as the Assistant Clerk of the House, and Lee A. Crawford elected as the Doorkeeper of the House for the 102nd General Assembly. Do these gentlemen accept the offices which they have been elected? They have all indicated they do. The gentleman from Cook, Representative Harris, is recognized to offer another resolution.
Mr. Speaker, I move the adoption of House Resolution 2 to direct the clerk to inform the Senate that the House is organized.
The gentleman has moved the adoption of House Resolution 2. This is the traditional notification to the other chamber that this body is prepared to do the people's business. The gentleman from Cook, Representative Harris, is recognized to offer another resolution.
Mr. Speaker, I move the adoption of House Resolution 3 for the appointment of a committee to attend the governor and to inform him that we are organized and await any communication he may have.
The gentleman has moved the adoption of House Resolution 3. This is another traditional ceremonial procedure. Without objection, we can take both motions on one vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and House Resolutions 2 and 3 are adopted. That actually brings us to the conclusion of the inauguration for the 102nd General Assembly. I want to say in conclusion, congratulations to all members of the House for the 102nd General Assembly. I look forward to working with you all in partnership. God bless you all. God bless America. Representative Harris moves the House stands adjourned until Thursday, January 14th at the hour of 10 a.m., allowing perfunctory time for the clerk. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the House stands adjourned until Thursday, January 14th at 10 a.m., allowing perfunctory time for the clerk.